Tommy, thanks for joining us here on our podcast. We are excited to have you here. We're excited for the season. Year what for you?
In the NBA, 28. With the Wizards starting my 19th season.
He got me beat by 4 years. I want to start with, I did some research last night with you because I find you to be kind of one of the more interesting guys in the NBA and just kind of like your journey. So you're from Albuquerque, and I read this article from someone that was speaking about you, and you said that your dream job was to be a GM in the NBA. Has the reality lived up to the dream?
Absolutely. Every day, I couldn't be more grateful, couldn't be more humbled. This opportunity that I have been afforded by Mr. Leonsis and the Washington Wizards it's just so humbling to me to be the caretaker. This is the fans' team that we put this product forward for our fans to enjoy and embrace and be part of, and I'd never take that responsibility lightly.
Your journey was interesting. Is that fair to say, like how you got to this point? I mean, you are I would probably say the 15 years that I've known you, I don't think there isn't anyone that doesn't know Tommy Sheppard. Like the way it's not working a room, it's just you just know a lot of people, right? Being a people person, how much do you value that in terms of the communication of not only your players, but people in the organization just know like where you stand?
Well, I think it's that everything is critical in this business, that everybody's communicated and can communicate back and forth. And we're busy. This is a busy world. Everybody has things to do. But if you have this great plan and you're not able to communicate it and people don't understand it, you have nothing. And I kind of came into this business under the PR umbrella and learned an awful lot about how bad things happen when people don't communicate. Bad things to an organization, to players, to staff, to coaches, everything. I took a great deal of pride in learning that side of the business, and I think we're all in PR every single day. Our responsibility for the Wizards absolutely is to win games, but also to have everybody here have a fantastic experience. And as we put this team together, as we put our staffs together, as we grow together, I think everybody now in this modern age especially, we appreciate communication, and actually that's what we thrive on. And one of the best things I think moving forward is with all the new players coming in, you get a lot more new ideas that you can add to that as well.
The interaction with people, face-to-face interaction, has kind of been hampered by this device that we look at literally every hour.
Smartphones, dumb people.
There's the line. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the headline on Off the Bench podcast that we're going to use from Tommy Sheppard. How do you balance that? Because this is valuable to me, and I know it's valuable to you because you really get a sense of who people are when you talk to them instead of a text message. Because I've always told this to my kids. If you text me something, I don't know what you were thinking because it's just words. But if you tell me how you feel, then I can get the reaction off of it. How do you balance this smartphone with the real interaction with people?
I think one of the biggest things I pride myself on is being able to read the room. And you get to know people on a very high level. You get to know their body language. You get to know their expressions. And you read that. And for me, literally every day, I want to touch every player and make sure how they're doing. And you can see it in their eyes if they're having a good day, a bad day, if something's off. And, people like to communicate differently. And I have to learn to communicate on their level. Some guys like text. Some guys love to put stuff up on their Instagram or wherever. And then, you get the occasional emoji messages that I got to decipher. But that starts the conversation. But being able to communicate on somebody else's level, I think, is very critical, because some people just aren't comfortable. And let's be honest, how many people really actually speak on their phones anymore, right? They're just texting or whatever else they do. But I think that's important for me to learn. That's the starting point, and then kind of find that common ground, how we can communicate. I've been on the back of so many airplanes, been on the buses, and you get a text from someone 2 seats from you. And it's like, come on, man.
Over here.
We're right here. Let's talk. But it starts the conversation, certainly. But I don't think anything will ever replace being able to sit across from each other, share a meal, share common ground.
Yeah, chop it up.
Absolutely.
So the team that made it to the playoffs, there's 7 players that are gone now. So you've had to replace those. I'm curious to know, once that playoff series was over with, where did your mind go? Horn sounds, series over, Wiz lose 4-1. Where did your mind instantly go to?
How are we going to get better? How are we going to be a championship caliber team, a perennial playoff team? That team, I cannot say enough about. The players that are gone, the staff that's gone, I miss them. They were great people. But our business in this, our ultimate job every day in this business is to win games, right? And we went 17-6 over the last 23 games. Vegas gave us a 0.6% chance of making the playoffs, and we did it. And some people may say, hey, that's good enough. Let's put that team back out there next year. Let's run it back. Let's see how we go. But that team was a play-in team that actually missed the first swing. We went up to Boston and got thumped. We were able to thump Indiana here. Then we got to play the number one team in the East, and we got a game off of them. We ran out of talent. We had so many injuries or whatnot. But I looked out there, and it was just the way that I felt that we needed to get better probably wasn't going to come from within. We were going to have to add more players and a different look, different expectations, different emphasis. And so those are hard decisions. And you always find out in the winter what you did in the summer. We did make a lot of change, and I think it was necessary for the future of the franchise. My job is always to do what's best for the Wizards. The easiest thing, man, we'd be sitting here with Russell here, same staff, and man, that was comfortable. And we talk about last year, but last year we actually finished with a losing record. Last year we actually, we weren't very good offensively, defensively, and efficiency. There was a lot of areas that you can't gloss over, and if you really want to fix something, sometimes you got to kind of start over and build it back up the way that you really see the best fit moving forward. There was a lot of times, Chris, I think, where you mow around rocks, right? We did talk about that. Sometimes you just got to get all the rocks out of the yard and start from scratch, and I think that's what we did. Really excited about where we're headed.
I want to give you a little credit here. I thought your transparency, at least as soon as the season was over with, was we're not running this back. I mean, you were very clear about that. So that's why I asked you, where did your mind go as soon as the series was over with? When Russell obviously made it clear that he wanted to move on, how did that expedite the process of trying to get a deal done and getting pieces that you think could fit with Bradley and the rest of your young core coming back?
No, absolutely. It's a great question, but I really have to make sure the record is straight on that. Russell actually never asked to move on. He just said, if I can get to the Lakers, that'd be something I would love to do. If not, I'll be back here. Because I said, what about the Clippers? He said, hell no. Right? So Russell was happy being here, and we were very grateful for him being here. I can't say it enough. The footprints he put in here, it was just like when Truth was here before that, when Paul Pierce came through. His impact on this organization, top to bottom, was profound, and I can't thank Russell enough. And very grateful, But when that opportunity came, and I'm a big collaborator with our players, and especially around draft, free agency. Players are some of the best scouts we have in the NBA. We like to chop it up. We get intel from them. And Russell was very direct about, hey, I want to win a championship. I want to be, I don't know how many more of these I have. And LeBron was a dear friend of his, Anthony Davis, different things. He's from LA, grew up a Lakers fan. I get all that. But he was professional, and he said, hey, I'll be back here. You're looking at the season Russell had. It's a travesty. He wasn't all NBA as well. Bradley deserved it more than anybody, but I thought Russell, he should have had his flowers. The guy averaged a triple-double. He helped take this team to the playoffs when, we were sitting in, pretty much in a situation where it looked like the season was over midway through. So I never take that lightly. But Russell was very, very professional, everything he did. And when it was time for him to, we sat, we got together, and I just said, you know what, I'll help you with the Lakers if it's great for us. And it was great for us. The players that we got in return and the opportunities we had to add more players, I think fulfilled, to your earlier question, when we were eliminated by the Sixers, we ran out of talent. We didn't have enough experienced players who could help us win games, big games. And everyone's on a clock. Bradley wants to win now. I don't want to wait and tell Bradley, hey, we're going to wait 4 more years and we'll be ready to go. We want to win. Do we want to win now? Yeah, certainly. We want to win more, and let's continue to do that, and you have to do that by supplying more and more talent.
So the talent that you did get from the Lakers, the one thing I do notice about them is there's some size, there's some versatility, and there's some championship pedigree. It's one thing to have names that performed at another city. It's another thing to get those names that performed in another city to do that here and maybe even do it better. From your calculation of just how you see this thing unfolding, because they have not played a game yet, how do you think that those pieces will acclimate with Brad?
Not just Bradley, but with the entire, returning roster, but especially, we make a great point with Bradley. I think they were perfect fits. And we've been able to see since Labor Day, our gym's been full. Every player's been through here at one point or another. Everybody's played together. And I've seen what we've added was a lot more shooting, certainly experience. 2 guys won NBA rings. Don't sell Trez short. He got that Louisville ring with Kuzma, with Pope. Those 3 add a great deal of experience playing at high level games. And Trez was the 6th man of the year before. Very accomplished players. We added Aaron Holiday, who I think really shores up our backcourt, and has been fantastic. And then the ability to sign Spencer Dinwiddie was just transformative for our backcourt, especially when you move off of Russell. And those 5 players right there all bring something different to the team. But Spencer, especially in the backcourt with Bradley, I think that's a very formidable backcourt, very big. They both can guard both positions. And I think that's something that Bradley's going to thrive off of. Having more shooters and more play creators out there is going to be critical to our success. I think we were able to address that this summer.
Bradley spoke to me a couple of days ago, and obviously what he did on the court was amazing. I mean, being an all-NBA player, finishing 2nd in scoring, battling Curry through the end of the regular season, and then leading this team to the playoffs. But he also admitted, he had a very difficult summer. We all know what happened with COVID and not being able to represent our country. But Bradley also had to deal with some family stuff. He admitted, about his father and, his grandmother being ill and all this. How do you balance the performance that you're looking for from your franchise player, but also understanding, like, they're humans too. They put their pants on just like we do, and they go through tough stuff. He really talked about the mental health part of that. He wanted to get into a better space. How do you guys balance that?
Communication. I think I've been with Bradley since day one. He turned 19 the day of the draft. We drafted him, and every day since then I value so much of his input, but the person that he is, watching him mature, become a husband, a father, and such a great son, but the pillar in the community that he's become. And I'm so proud of him on the All-NBA team, but I'm equally as proud of his Community Assist Award. And I think now more than ever, we measure so many things for physical fitness and how strong guys are, and we'll do anything to make sure we take care of them head to toe, but we cannot overlook the mental fitness. And I think that's a place this year that to get that 100% compliance and people truly being honest with each other, we all have to admit that we have to be vulnerable a little bit. You come in this building, let's all be there for each other. Let's speak up. If something's not right, you're having a bad day, something's going on, so we can all kind of support each other. I think the stigma of asking for professional help, the stigma of, hey, I really don't want to bring this to work, we've got to help kind of pierce that, get rid of that, and let everybody know, hey, no question, this is a business. No question you got to win games, but where this ultimately needs to be is we're going to do that together in a happy, healthy environment, and that's what we've created here. And I think Bradley, it does all start. He's the tip of the spear, and I think him being vulnerable and showing his teammates that it's okay to have bad days and be able to talk to people, talk about your issues, that makes everybody follow him that much more. And he's been a fantastic leader throughout. And he was an old man when he was young, and now here he is, 10 years in the league. I can't believe it.
I just laugh at, 10 years when you think about that. I remember draft night, like you said, it was his birthday, and he had his baby face, couldn't grow any facial hair, and like now he's it's time, and you need players like Brad to have that time to grow and develop more than just basketball skills, but as a person. How do you balance patience?
You have to know that there's something on the other side worth waiting for, and I think that's something I ask myself all the time, and I challenge our staff this summer. How long do you wait on players? Sometimes you've got to have that ability to raise your hand and say, hey, you know what, I thought it was this way, and today I've changed my mind. It's okay to do that, because there are a lot of mistakes in this business are made when you don't fix your mistakes. You say, I'm right, all you guys are wrong, this guy's going to work out great. Well, this is a results-oriented business, and if you put up results that are in a positive way, And it doesn't necessarily translate every single game or every single season, but over a 2-year span, I think you get a great snapshot of what a player is and where he can be. And it's our job to project that forward. And if it's not completing the picture, then we have to kind of reboot. And I use an example last year, very difficult. Trades are very, very hard for anybody that's in this business. It's hard for you when you hear, hey, this guy's been traded, because you have such great relationships with players, and it's equally hard for myself. But you have to do what's best for the Wizards. And I look at the trade at deadline, acquiring Daniel Gafford was a huge thing for us. And that was something that was simple, but that was something that, I think at the time nobody even really took notice, and he exceeded our expectations. I'm not going to lie, but I expected a lot from him, and the ability to assimilate him. Our roster did a great job of welcoming him and getting him out there, and he was successful out on the court. Those kinds of things, that's somebody that maybe we were looking at another team and his development there, and it wasn't apparent that he was playing there or was going to play there, and we said, hey, can we put him on our roster? What would that do? We try to do that with so many players throughout the NBA. These guys, one day we have a criteria. Is he a Wizard? And there's a criteria that has to fit that. And that was a big part of the trade this summer. We knew those players that we were acquiring were all on our list. We knew Spencer Dinwiddie was on our list. Aaron Holiday, we've been chasing him around for 3 years. So, maybe one day you get those players. But patience is so critical I think more throughout the season. You can be a lot more patient when you see the critical factors every day, Chris. Their work ethic, their character, their reliability. You do those things, and I think
because you're not judging just 2.5 hours.
No,
no. You know how we are in the media and the fans. We're looking at it's a results-oriented business.
Absolutely.
But we kind of just look at the prism of just what happened in 2.5 hours, as opposed to I saw the work. Yep. I've seen everything. The Daniel Gafford part I want to touch on. And I want to use your football background. Is shot blocking such a priority in the NBA like a left tackle in football? And why is it so hard to get a shot blocker?
I think it is, maybe not to the extreme level as a left tackle, but what it does is it anchors your defense in terms of penetration. When people are getting 10 toes in the paint consistently, your defense breaks down, everything collapses, they kick out the shooters, they're getting high percentage buckets at the rim, they're getting to the free throw line. When you have that presence, it can kind of repel people attacking the castle, as they say. I think that's a great thing. And Daniel was able, in a short amount of time, but really going back to his Arkansas days, we always knew he was athletic. We always knew this guy was somebody that his second bounce was just as good as his first bounce, and that's somebody. We didn't have lob threats. You tend to covet what you don't have, right? We never had a big lob threat here. We didn't have somebody that was extremely bouncy shot blocker. But now he's going to have to adjust, because now he's a known commodity, right? The league is going to try to figure out how they can negate some of the things that he does well. And he came back this summer, spent so much time in the lab, put a lot more into his game, and I'm really excited. He's a lot more diverse now than he was when he came here, and he's not just a lob threat. He's not just a shot blocker. He's a great rim roller. He's extended his range. He makes free throws. He's thinking the game, and sometimes it's okay if you're not a shot blocker to be a shot deterrent. And guys aren't going to try him now as much, and that's a great thing.
How, in the final analysis of Davis's season last year, what was your takeaway from it? Because if you just looked at the numbers, they're okay, but I'm sure that from his standpoint, he wanted to be better. And I know you wanted him to be better, but what was the overarching thought of last year for him?
So it's really difficult to have a really good NBA season if you miss training camp. He was injured coming in the door, signed a big contract, so those put big expectations on people. And the first thing I tell a player when you sign that deal, I say, go be you. Don't try to do more than what we paid you for. Like, we know who you are. We know what you want to be. Davis came in. He was injured. We were 29 and 27 when he was available in games that he played in. And he shot 40% from three. Those are pretty amazing numbers. Just the injuries kind of dragged him down. I think that was something we noticed offensively. Russell's just a different basketball player. And sometimes maybe we were not running a lot of motion for our shooters. Sometimes it's getting ISO basket, and that was great. Russell gets to the line, he gets guys shots, but for consistent three-point shooting, a lot of times it was catch and shoot from deep in the clock, whatever. Davis is one of those players, I think if you go back the year before, got a lot more buckets coming off of motions, coming off of screens, creating space for him so he could get open looks. and not just sitting in the corner. I think that's something that we really were excited about Wes and his schemes moving forward. Defensively, that's kind of been his calling card in Denver, but he was actually an offensive coach before that, and he's a big fan of motion, big fan of the ball moving and making sure shooters get wide open looks. And so for Davis, that was an easy sell. I think he had a good season.
Denny's rookie year was cut short because of the ankle injury. You've been on the record saying you guys are going to slowly integrate him back in, but he's good to go. Because of what you were saying about Russell, I think you and other people, because I never saw the kid play, so I'm just going off of what people told me, like he's a pretty good ball handler and could facilitate some action for you. Do you see that kind of coming to the forefront with him this season under a new head coach?
And that's been the staff's evaluation mirrors kind of what we've always seen. Is he's a great secondary playmaker. He's a hell of a rebounder, solid defender. I think he can score. I don't think he needs to be in the corner just when the ball kicks to you, shoot a three. I think he can be a secondary playmaker, and I do think he's solid in very many areas out on the court that he can help us with. It stinks to be a rookie, and you get kind of cast out there and learning on the fly and learning with great vets, but still that you're going to take your lumps. And that injury definitely was disappointing. Coming back this summer, we had a couple of different things happen that were he had not a setback necessarily physically, but between COVID protocols and different things, it cost him probably an extra 2-3 weeks of work that now we're catching it on the back end. That's why we've been real cautious. But you'll see him. He'll be scrimmaging by the end of the week. He'll be jumping into it, and he'll play in preseason games. So his big thing now is I think he's got to integrate with the new coaching staff, with new players, and everybody evaluate for what his skill set is moving forward. But we're very confident of what he can become.
I wasn't here last year, but I was told a lot he's inquisitive. Is that a fair assessment to describe Denny? Inquisitive?
I admire how many questions he can ask. It's a talent.
But that's not a bad thing.
No, it's
right?
it's a great thing. With the balance of asking questions has always been a great listener first, and he is, and he wants to be great. He came from great stock. He came from the most storied franchises in all of international basketball, and he's played in huge games, not just with Maccabi Tel Aviv, but also with the Israeli national team. I've seen him in hostile environments. I know what he can do moving forward. He was 19 years old last year. And one thing I don't think we ever put enough empathy on is what it takes for an international player to come over, play in the NBA, assimilate a new culture, all the new teammates, a different ball, a new world that you're launched into, and how long that takes. And then, oh, by the way, your entire first season, there's going to be no fans, and you're going to get hurt. And we just had strange things happen. And I told him after the season, yep, this is true. All those things happen, and guess what? Nobody cares. You got to move forward. You got to come back better, ready to go. And he put in the time. I'm really, really excited for him.
Rui's going into his third year, and you guys have already said he's going to miss some time for personal reasons, and we respect the privacy. But for year 3 in this league, it's normally a big year for players. Obviously, trying to get the bag, as the kids say, but also in terms of your development. Where is he from when you guys first saw him at Gonzaga to where he is now as a basketball player?
Well, I think he's the perfect blend player that can try to be what we don't have out on the court. He can fit that need. If you need rebounding, you need defending, you need somebody to transition up and down. But one thing I think he showed really throughout the season last year, but in the playoffs and with his national team, he's expanded his range. So he's a very confident three-point shooter now. Ball's going to kick to him. He's not going to hesitate. He's going to take big shots. You remember the one when we did get off of Philly here, he hit that huge three and didn't blink. He knows what time it is. I love his mentality, his mindset to get better, but also to be a great team player. He's not out there trying to take shots from anybody. He's not trying to do anything other than perform his role, but at a higher level and bring in more intensity. That's one thing I think Bradley and Russell really prepared him for last season, was that you can go through practices, the games, you're doing what you're supposed to do, but you got to take it up a notch internally. You've got to have a little bit more expression and passion for the game out there on the floor. And culturally, that's not something necessarily that comes as quick to where he's from, but I think he's adapted very well to the NBA. And where he's at right now, I'm excited about what he presents for our, in terms of, we talk about who's going to start for us, Chris, but how do you finish the games?
Yeah.
And we have so many different players out there, so many different options. I think it's going to be exciting for Wes, to matchup-wise, to take advantage of the other team. You put a bunch of shooters out there, we can go big, we can go small. And what Rui's, I think the big expectation I have for him this year, don't hesitate to take open shots, but be a great passer, be an excellent defender. We saw last year he was capable of guarding multiple positions, but he's going to have to do it now more so, getting bigger assignments, on a nightly basis. And he saw a stretch where he saw LeBron and Tobias Harris and Kawhi, and everybody kept coming out. I said, good, that's good for you, because guess what? Those guys are in the NBA just like you're in the NBA. You're going to see those guys every night. Get used to it. And I think when he was able to play with his national team, he saw the level, expectations, not just from the basketball community, but his country at large, how much pressure that was for him. And I think he's definitely capable of taking that pressure, internalizing it, and being able to deal with it. And can't say enough about our expectations for him moving forward.
And we can just ask Anthony Davis, when he's aggressive, what it looks like. I kind of just remember being in my home office and I jumped up and I was like, whoa, he just caught a body.
Yep.
I want to finish with this. They haven't played a game yet. You can forecast all you want, but what do you think the identity of this year's roster should be from your standpoint?
We're going to continue to play with pace. I think we're going to be much better offensively, defensively, in efficiency areas. One thing throughout the entire interview process with Wes and pretty much everybody we interviewed, it came up time and time again that it's great to be number one in pace, but it actually cannibalizes if you're in the 19s, 20s in defensive efficiency, offensive efficiency. It's like you're almost working against yourself every time. So I think we want to play from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. Results, obviously, we want to win every single game, but if you don't win, you can look back and say, at least we played the right way, we took the shots we wanted, we defended the right way, shot profile was good. Whatever you can come up with to show the progress that you're learning, you're getting better, you're getting more stops, and that shows up in the win column. It does. May not at the beginning when you're putting something new in and everybody's learning the foundation pieces, but if you play the right way consistently, you're not counting on luck every single night, you're not counting on one player to bail your night out every night, I think the wins will show up. And I'm so impressed with Wes and his integrity towards the game. He's not going to shortcut. We're going to put in defense from day one that I think is going to be something the players are going to buy into. And I think the way that they buy into it and the reason they buy into it, Chris, is because it produces results.
I was going to ask you about your Cowboys, but I could care less. Go Panthers.
Hey, man. Hey, something you can't pick your family necessarily, what you're born into. That's the world I was born into. But I'm excited for the NFL season too. And then how about them Ravens getting that 66-yard field goal?
Well, you got a goat over there, right?
That was something else.
The greatest to ever do it.
It's just fun to be able to sit and talk about sports again. And be able to see you face to face again, and hopefully things will start to feel a little bit more familiar. We're really, really grateful for our fans. Can't wait to see them in that first game, and hope we're building something everybody's going to be proud of.
Tommy, I appreciate the work as always, and your time is always appreciated.
Oh, man. Great to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.